Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and I'm going to talk today about Tony Bellew and Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, as we know, was in the UK for the Joshua Klitschko fight. He was part of the commentary team for Sky Sports, like Tony Bellew. They had a bit of an altercation the night before. Not really an altercation, but a bit of verbals, which kind of set the scene for it, set the stage, should I say. And then later on, they were talking about potentially making a fight between them, which would presumably take place at Goodison Park, Liverpool. So, yeah, personally, I've got mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I'd like to see the event. I like the big stadium fights. I like to sort of keep that momentum going in the UK of having like big world title fights at football stadiums. I'd be interested to see how Bellew could do against Deontay Wilder. I'll be honest, I don't think he can beat Deontay Wilder. I don't think he could last 12 rounds with him. But I could be wrong. I mean, I've written him off before, and he's proven me wrong. So I would be at least interested to see how he could do against Wilder. And with that event there at Goodison Park, I would personally quite like to see it. I quite like to see Wilder come over here to fight for a big fight as well. From Deontay Wilder's perspective, well, Deontay Wilder needs to prove himself. Especially when Tyson Fury's sort of been out of the game for a while now, but he proved himself. Yeah, he's sort of fallen off quite a lot. Anthony Joshua's just proven himself. Deontay Wilder's been in the game like longer than those two. I mean, he really does need to step up and prove that he's a real champion. Now, for me personally, as much as I like Deontay Wilder, as much as I like his personality, as much as I like to see him do well, we all know about his story, how he got into boxing, his daughter and all that. I think this is probably one of the reasons why, well, in America, people have probably got behind him because he's like the only, well, they see him as the only like American serious contender in the heavyweight division, which is obviously like the biggest division in America as well. I when I was a kid, my dad was well into boxing, and all the American, you have people like Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, but Marvin, I mean, there were loads. But generally, like you think of the big heavyweights, you think of the heavyweight division, you think of all the great American champions. So I think that tradition and those kind of big pair of shoes basically to fill is what gives him the benefit of the doubt in America, and why people are content to see him just sort of easing along and like putting him up there, even though he hasn't really earned that position. Now, getting back to what I was saying, from a British perspective at least, I think people have given him the benefit of the doubt because of basically his personality, because people just quite like him, and because of the story of how he got into boxing, to support his daughter who was like handicapped. I think had I don't know the exact condition, but she had has quite a serious illness, and he was doing it to basically pay for her treatment. So it's very difficult to not want to see someone like that do well. But there comes a point where people are like, okay, now you're just taking the piss, mate. You've been WBC champion for God knows how long, and during that time, you fought 5 voluntary defences. Now, yeah, I know about the Povetkin thing, but that was dragged on anyway, and it kind of got a bit confusing. Started off, first of all, Wilder was ducking him, then he was ducking Wilder, then he just sort of forgot what even was going on in the end. And that was like one credible opponent. That was a mandatory challenger that, it seemed unlucky for him, in that instance. But aside from that, you've got basically 5 people nobody wanted to see fight for the heavyweight title. I remember Molina, Duhaupas, Spilka. I didn't know who any of these were until he fought them, to be honest with you. Who else? Washington, Gerald Washington. This is the kind of person he should have been fighting 15 fights ago. So, yeah, as much as I do like Deontay Wilder, I don't really respect him as a true champion. And because of the opponents that he's fought, and because he hasn't stepped up to the plate and taken on tough challenges. Now, for me, he missed a big opportunity to really prove himself when Luis Ortiz called him out. Now, your man Warzak, I think that's how you pronounce his name. This was somebody who nobody wanted to see him fight against. And when they said, "Oh, you're going to fight," it was very, very disappointing. Everybody was like, "Who the fuck is this bloke?" Do you know what I mean? We wanted to see someone who could fight back. So he pulled out. No, he failed a drugs test, didn't he? So then you've got this opportunity where really Luis Ortiz then throws his hat into the ring. Luis Ortiz, I think Wilder had a good chance of beating him. Good fight, but that would be a very credible opponent, and that was a perfect opportunity for Wilder to say, "Yeah, all right, I'll take. I'm the so-called WBC heavyweight champion of the world. I'm supposed to fight the best people. Now, I've been in training camp. Luis Ortiz hasn't. Yeah, we both got like about 3 weeks or whatever to prepare. I know in an ideal world, you'd rather have better preparation and blah, blah, blah. But you're the world champion. You're supposed to be able to basically like come through a bit of adversity and fight, take on all challenges. That's what I don't really respect about it. I made the comparison with the Kell Brook situation. I made a video saying that he needed to address the Errol Spence situation. Obviously a big Kell Brook fan. He got injured. He just fought against Gennady Golovkin, and it wasn't an ideal time for him to take on Errol Spence at that time. But you're a world champion. So just because things aren't 100% how you like them, that doesn't mean that we should just accept you just sort of going, okay, yeah, don't do that. Instead, I'll just take on a challenge that basically isn't a challenge. I'm not prepared to prove myself as the best. So that's why I made that comparison, and I'm basically expected Deontay Wilder to show us that he was, yeah, I am the real champion, and I am going to take someone on. Getting a fight actually means something. He didn't. He fought Gerald Washington. So, it's pretty underwhelming. And now here we are, a bit later. He got Bermane Stiverne was made the mandatory challenger, which everybody was disappointed about. Nobody wants to see that fight again. And now here he is. And to be fair, like in terms of things that he's done in the last couple of weeks, Wilder, he's starting to grow on me as a champion, at least in terms of the intent that he's showing. Now, I like the fact that he called out Joseph Parker at a time when it actually meant something. Because anybody can call anyone out, but when you're actually like Joseph Parker's looking for an opponent, and he's saying, "Yeah, let's make this fight." I like that. I like the intent behind that. So I started to think, yeah, this is a good sign. Because obviously I want to see Deontay Wilder do well. I want to see him prove me wrong. I don't want to just see him basically. A lot of people in boxing like to criticise people, and they like to have somebody basically doing what they're accusing them of. And to be honest, I think quite a lot of people would be disappointed if Wilder took on a decent challenge, because then they wouldn't be able to call him like a cherry picker and a bum and stuff like that. I'm not one of them. I want to see him get in there and fight some of these people. And I like the fact that he sort of seems to be serious about unifying. That's one thing I can say. He started to grow on me. He went to obviously England for the Klitschko-Joshua fight. Again, that's a good sign. I like that. I like the intent behind that. And he did say something that I liked originally when they asked him about Bellew. He said he's got nothing that I want, which that's kind of what I wanted to hear, because he doesn't really have anything apart from a big fight with a big-ish name in the UK, which is quite attractive in itself. But in terms of him establishing himself as a serious champion, as one of the best in heavyweight division, he's got nothing really to gain by beating Tony Bellew. He doesn't have a belt. He's not like a top heavyweight, Tony Bellew. Now, Tony Bellew beat David Haye, and look, I mean, I give him credit for beating David Haye. You can only beat what's in front of you, but the way he's talking. I mean, he's talking like he beat like a sort of prime Mike Tyson. Do you know what I mean? David Haye, like everybody said before that fight that, well, I said this, and most other people that I listened to said the same thing. If David Haye is utterly shot and is a shell of his former self, Tony Bellew will beat him. If not, David Haye will win. And basically, let's be honest, David Haye was a complete shell of his former self. I mean, he came out there, literally, like the first couple of rounds, he looked like he was just having a punch-up outside a kebab shop at like 4 in the morning. You know what I mean? He was just like swinging like wild punches, terrible balance, really heavy. He just looked awful. And like Tony Bellew, to be fair to him, you know, he weathered the storm. He took a few good punches, which I didn't expect him to be able to do. But he beat, you know, a very, very poor version of David Haye. That just is what it is. That's not me trying to like detract credibility from his win. But you know, everyone can see like what happened. And he's now talking about like, oh, I fought like David Haye because you know he was like the bogeyman and nobody wanted to fight. Shannon Briggs, like for example, like springs to mind. I'm sure other people wanted to fight David Haye as well. So he's, you know, I mean, he's just got this idea now that because he sort of beat David Haye, that apparently no one else wanted to fight. Tyson Fury, another one, just sort of springs to mind. Manuel Char. You know, I'm sure we could go on with this. But anyway, he's now saying that by beating David Haye one fight, now I've got a much better record than Deontay Wilder at heavyweight. Now, okay, even if you think that was like the David Haye of like 2010, 2009, that David Haye, even if it was, beating one person is not the same as beating, how many people was Deontay, what, 39 is he, 38, or you know, nearly 40. Now, most of them haven't been very good, we know that, but still, you've knocked out like 39 people, as opposed to just sort of beating one person. Now, if you look at it like, beating this one fight and just one name, this is worth more than like years of winning, then, you know, I suppose that's up to you. But I don't. And for Tony Bellew, he always claims that he's got a good boxing brain and he really understands boxing. So I'd be surprised if he believes that, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Like you could be like, it's one fight compared to 40. Yeah, this one person might be better than these other people, but still, consistency is very important. So Tony Bellew, who knows if he does believe it? He does seem. One thing I have to respect about Tony Bellew, one thing I do admire, is his self-belief. You know, he's just got like total self-belief to the point where most people think he's quite deluded. You know, but you know, it doesn't really matter to him, does it? I mean, most people thought, myself included, he had no chance of beating David Haye. Now, obviously, the circumstances played out how the way they did, but still, he went into that and he did it. So he believed in himself. So I think going into this Deontay Wilder fight, most people would make him, make Deontay Wilder the big favourite. But Tony Bellew, I believe, in his mind, he has just total confidence in himself, which makes him pretty dangerous. You know what I mean? I mean, he has got a good record, albeit at cruiserweight. I just don't think that he is able to compete with the top heavyweights. I think he's too small. I don't think he hits hard enough. I don't think he's tough enough. Not that he's not tough enough, but like maybe pound for pound, but like to take punches from people like Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Vladimir Klitschko, I don't see it. And against someone like Tyson Fury, I mean, if he'd obviously no chance. To me, that would be like watching, Floyd Mayweather fight against Carl Frampton. You know, he'd have absolutely no chance in that fight. But fair play to if he believes he can do it and he wants to try and test himself, then fair play to him. I'm certainly not going to criticise him for that. Just giving my honest opinion on how unrealistic I think it is. And I think his analysis of how he can compete with these top heavyweights based on that David Haye fight is, a bit misguided. But yeah, we'll see. So if the fight does happen, me personally, I won't mind. I'd be quite interested to see it. I expect a bit more from Deontay Wilder, to be honest. If he doesn't have a better option on the table for whatever reason, then by all means take it. But yeah, it's not going to really prove anything for Deontay Wilder, as far as I'm concerned. So he really needs to, step up. And if he can't make the next fight with Joseph Parker or Joshua, then I'd much rather see him fight Luis Ortiz. I'd rather see him fight Dylan White than Tony Bellew. I think that's a much bigger challenge. Dylan White against Deontay White is a good fight. I'd like to see that, and I think I'll give Dylan White a good chance in that fight. But yeah, that's the topic for another video. I think I've talked about this for long enough. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So thank you very much for watching.